Hey everybody, welcome to the second to last ever episode of Word of Mouth on Season 1.
On Season 1. Don't worry, guys, there's more to come.
Season 2 definitely has some really cool things coming, and I'm really excited about it. I'm not going to lie.
We kind of wanted this episode to be like a reflection a little bit on what Season 1 has been. We're kind of just learning this by doing this, and we're having a lot of fun while doing it. And now that we've got, by the time this drops, 11 episodes under our belt, I feel like we kind of have an idea of what we want this to be. So
yeah, we had a really cool conversation with this guy named Andrew Nair, who we would love to have on someday. I have no idea if that's possible, but
I think we can make it happen.
Yeah, Andrew Nair is probably the most, if not the most, one of the most influential and well-known industrial lighting designers. So he designs and makes lighting fixtures, or in America. There's their clarification. Definitely not in the world. But
still, like, it's kind of a niche, but he's very, very influential.
Like pretty much any like really cool office building or like cafe or like restaurant you've been in, they probably have an Andrew Nair lighting fixture in there, which is pretty cool. But anyways, our friend Elijah got married this weekend. Shout out Elijah and Ibby. Shout out Marriage. And anyways, because Elijah and Ibby got married and because Elijah worked with said Andrew Nair, we got to meet him this weekend, and we were talking to him about just creativity and creating. And he used this analogy that I thought was so fascinating that I related to a lot. And he was like, even if it's just poop and like it's the toilet still gets clogged. Like you have to,
like you got to get it out,
clog it just to flush it away, almost in a way. So the fact that we've just been like creating and putting these out, even though we know like how much we could get better at it, has just been super fun. Yeah, and we've had like so much fun with all the guests that we're on, and we've loved being out in the world and hearing from all of our listeners different things.
It's kind of scary because in a way you are putting your reputation on the line. Mm-hmm. And I've been making all the shorts, and I'll be honest, I don't think a lot of the shorts are really that good. Yeah. But there have been a couple where I'm like, okay, I'm laughing at the end of this after I spent an hour editing this. Yeah. So it must still be funny, at least to me. And I've started to figure out like kind of how to have a style, and we're just learning by doing.
I think there should be a generic term for YouTube short, TikTok, Instagram reel. Yeah. Like there should be, like, I know like some people refer to it sometimes as short form media, but there should be I don't know, like if there's
I agree. Yeah.
A post.
Because it's like you saw it, platforms. The video style is the same regardless of what platform you see it on. Yeah. But when you're describing the video that you saw, you describe it based on the platform that you saw it on. Yeah. So it's like I saw a reel the other day. I saw a TikTok the other day. I was scrolling through shorts the other day. Yeah. Those are all the same thing.
Mm-hmm. But there's connotations.
There are connotations because there are kind of different styles to each of those generally. Yeah. But yeah, that's a good point. I agree.
Yeah. So anyways, through Instagram Reel, YouTube Short, /TikToks, and just segments, and I mean, even just like the random things, like the very first time that we did this, I was really into the intro music. And then we went back and listened to the first episode, and I was like, oh my God, will they turn it off already? As a listener. Yeah. Because we kept it on for like 60 seconds. Yeah. And so anyways, just like from thing to thing, we just feel like we've gotten, we're trying to get better and better. And
now we have a ton of ideas. Yeah. And so that's part of why we're breaking these off into seasons, is we want to kind of reinvent ourselves a little bit. Not fully, but we've got a lot of ideas and a lot of changes that we think we're going to go into season 2 with. Yeah. We've got some really exciting guests lined up.
We do.
We might even be going on the road.
This board is getting in the car.
So
our Roadcaster Class A servo bias preamps Aphex on board. That's what it reads right here. Yep. For our watchers, our viewers, sorry. But yeah, overall, it's been really fun. But anyways, Andrew, just getting to talk to him about creating and finding like niches and just like being who you are in the midst of it too. It was a great conversation.
It was really fun.
I think finding a good wedding conversation is like a diamond. It is literally like so difficult to find someone at a wedding that you genuinely enjoy speaking to. I don't know if he genuinely enjoyed speaking to us.
I hope he did. I really hope so. I feel like he would have. I feel like he would have, excused himself if he didn't enjoy.
Yeah. He also had this fascinating point. Speaking of, he said that he was talking about just allocation of funds and how you do that based upon your priorities. And he was saying like, if you knew that you were only going to meet 1,000 people in your life, like if you knew that you were only going to have 1,000 different friends throughout your life, that would probably change the way that you allocated your time with people, because you knew that only like 1,000 people were going to be the people that you like. There's not limitless more people you're going to meet in your life. But that's often the way that we act. Like we act as if like, oh, well, we have this friend in front of us right now, but I'll probably have like a best friend better than this one day.
Yeah.
Or I'll probably end up in a different city one day, or I'll probably end up in a different job one day. And he was just talking about like realistically and statistically, the odds are like not in your favor for that.
Yeah.
And he was like, I would rather spend my time talking to you two all night long and actually talking rather than going and having 5-minute conversations with 100 people tonight and all of them are bad.
Yeah.
He'd rather have 2 good than 100 bad. Well, I guess if you had 100,
mediocre.
Maybe like 2 would be good.
Yeah.
And 89 of them would be, 98 of them would be bad. There's a little dyslexia right there.
Yeah, I just loved that he was able to hold to statistics and numbers and logic equally as tightly / loosely as he could hold to the artistic side of like philosophy and theoreticals. And I that's kind of how I think both of our brains work.
Yeah.
I really am fascinated by business, but I'm not in it. If I was in it for the money, I'd probably just go into finance. Like I'm really interested in the philosophy and the people.
Yeah.
And he was into that too.
Yeah, like a little, freaking Myres business segment here. I think that's so interesting that whenever you talk about that, like I just really care about the people. That it is a contrast to the logic money part of business.
Yeah.
But it's like business is great, but it's like at the end of the day, like everything in the world is for people. Like there's nothing else to like send goodness to or something, or like send like hope or peace to. Like all of it just comes, it's all just for the benefit of humanity, of humans.
Yeah.
And so I think it's super interesting that you have to differentiate the two. One thing I heard on a podcast the other day, shout out Carrie Newolf. I listened to my first ever Carrie Newolf leadership podcast 2 weeks ago. It was great. And one thing that they were talking about on there, him and this guy named John Mark Comer, I don't know if any of y'all have ever heard of him. And
Steven talks about him constantly.
But they were talking about how it's just ironic that like everything that makes you money in the world will not be talked about at your funeral. And then everything that doesn't make you money will be talked about at your funeral.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was such a fascinating thought experiment of like, oh my gosh, monetary association is completely tied to things that do not have any sort of eternal impact.
Yeah.
Wild.
To me, money is like a means to an end. And in business, it's more of like it's a tool, and it's like a kind of like a score sheet. It's like, well, clearly if you're doing something well, you're probably making more money.
Yeah.
And
like,
then you
not
can,
like,
theoretically, you should use that money for more good things.
Yeah. Not like prosperity vibes, but there is an association of like hard work, consistency, and like diligence and work ethic that associates with like your the score sheet, like you're talking about. Like if you actually, spend time and stick it out and do it after a while, like you know, that, like what's the thing that Dave Ramsey says? Like your number one asset is your paycheck, so you need to always have a paycheck coming through in a way. I hate Dave Ramsey. I'm not a Dave Ramsey guy, but I always think that's such a fascinating thing. That's like, I mean, don't overcomplicate it. Like you need to get you need
to make money so you can live.
Yeah, you need to work.
But the living is not for the money. The money is for the living. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah, what's that like stats? Like 80% of men above the age of 30 feel more comfortable in the office than they do in their home. It's like
that's sad. Crazy. Yeah, we're trying to change that, bro.
Yeah,
WOM is going to change that.
WOM's going to change the world.
For all you guys who are at work right now, call in sick. Go home. Go see your family. Play with your kids. Even though most people who listen to this are 20 and don't have kids.
Yeah, all of us 20-year-olds and the people listening and us are like, oh, yeah, this is such a good idea. And like one day we're going to have like a car payment, a house payment, like 3 kids in freaking private school and like, you know, have to buy freaking diapers and PB&Js. And we're going to be like, I love The Office.
Yeah. I will be very interested to see how I change and my priorities change when I have kids. Because from the people I've talked to, like I talked to William Harmon a couple weeks ago.
Shout out William.
That's Steven's home group leader. And
also friend.
And friend, yeah. And he'll probably come on this podcast at some point. Okay. But we talked the other day, and he was just talking about, like, you kind of get more serious about work when there are kids on the line, because it's like you gotta take care of these humans because they are helpless without you.
Yeah, and I, in a way, kind of feel like being in college, like, I don't know if this is everyone's story, but definitely, like, Myres and I, we, like, our campus that we went to, like, our college that we went to, it just required so much, like, identity association, like, with, like, you being a student there. For you to be successful, like, for you to have positions or, like, social clout, like, you had to be, like, your identity had to be so rooted in the campus.
Yeah.
That coming out of it, it was really hard for me not to even associate, like, oh, well, I'm doing this, but my classmates are doing this, like, and now that I'm like 5 years out from college, like, I definitely identify more as just like a post-grad and, you know, person in the world, like just worker, generic employee, than I do as like a Sanford grad, which sounds probably super dumb to people who didn't go to Sanford, rightfully so, because it is dumb that took me that long to do that. But no, anyways, I just feel like it's so interesting that now, like, when your entire identity is just like you work, like that, like you're, you know, I'm like married to Gracie. I work at Redeemer. I am Steven. Like, that's it. It does make me have a certain amount of significant. I associate a certain amount of significance with work now that I never thought I would be possible, because it's all that I do. And, you know, it's like in a way, it's like who I am.
It's part of why I'm striving so much for. I think why I like business so much is because it is really what you spend. Like, your job is what you spend most of your life doing.
Yeah.
And so you should make that work environment be as amazing as you possibly can.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, I don't know, you spend 8 hours, 9 hours a day, 10 hours a day working.
Yeah.
That's half your day. More than that, really, because you got to sleep. So it's more than half your day, more than half your life.
Yeah.
Like, you might as well make that be awesome. Or really you should, or else you're going to hate your life. And so now I kind of understand how the middle-aged man is so tired of his work because he doesn't like it, but it's been the means to an end.
Yeah.
Like, I understand why there's just the stereotype of the midlife crisis and I've been doing this for so long and I hate it, and, you know, they try and figure something out at that point. Why not try and figure it out when you are 20, you know?
Yeah.
While you're going into your career, you might as well just either find a job that you like or figure out how to like your job.
Yeah.
And the latter is probably going to be more realistic. You got to figure out how to like your job.
Yeah. It is crazy, like talking to college students sometimes, like working in college ministry, and like I think it's a mind-boggling thing for them whenever I tell them that half, if not more than half, like the majority of my friends who work don't like their job. Like the dream job facade. I just don't know many people who like. I know a lot of people who like are okay with their job and like don't hate their job, but I know very few people that like going to work, like going and doing what they do for a living.
Yeah,
like they're good at it. Like everybody, like I know tons of people that are good at their job, and enjoy like being good at their job, but like liking their workplace environment and their coworkers. Like I don't know many people.
Yeah.
Like literally at all that are that way. So I think it's an interesting thing how, you sleep for 8 hours a day, you work for 8 hours a day, and then you do it like how many hours are left? 8 other hours.
Yeah.
So
and you got to eat and you got to
Yeah.
do the laundry, and you got to exercise. So
Yeah.
you really only get an hour or two
Yeah.
to like do something that's enjoyable.
It's kind of wild. Yeah. Anyways.
Anyway.
There's our introduction part of our
welcome
podcast.
to
Oh my gosh.
So anyways, one thing we wanted to do was, so for all of our episodes, we do like little Q&As, we do little polls, and I kind of just wanted to briefly go over some of them.
Yeah, like on Spotify,
Yes.
there is like a poll or a Q&A
Yeah.
underneath. So if you've never noticed those or interacted with them before, please do. We genuinely look at them and
Because we
enjoy
think
it.
it's really funny.
Yeah.
So for episode 1, I didn't do any questions. Episode 2 was with Sam Peacock. It had the "What did you think about this episode?" question, which is just generic. I don't think I intentionally put that there, but Isabel Dean, now Nap.
Wow. Isabel Knapp. That kind of has a good ring to it there.
Kind of does. Ibby Dean said,
Good ring to it.
I've realized that Sam's accent is Southern transatlantic.
Transatlantic.
His accent sounds as if old Hollywood were making a movie about a conceptualized Southern man.
Man.
And that was one of
That
the
is
deepest
crazy.
responses
That's honestly
we've
so
had.
true.
Yeah.
That is the number one comment I get when people meet my brother for the first time. They're like, oh my gosh, definitely can tell y'all are brothers, but y'all sound exactly opposite.
Yeah.
Like
He has a very like radio, kind of like late night DJ vibe voice, especially when he talks into a microphone.
Like, well, Steven, I don't even
Yeah,
know
he
how to
really
do it.
turns it on when he talks into a mic, which I think it's awesome. I think it's funny.
Yeah. We love this guy named Eli Gold, that is the radio personality for Alabama football. We love listening to him, and we used to impersonate it and made our dad laugh.
Yeah.
And when you think about making your dad laugh growing up and how
that's
psychologically
huge.
important that was, you can figure that out, counselor.
It's probably why I think I'm funny. It's because I was like the one person in my family who could make my dad laugh at dinner.
Yeah.
This is probably why I have such pride around my sense of humor.
Not to psychoanalyze this too much, but the paternal relationship is wildly impactful on the human soul.
Yeah.
But anyways,
dads love your kids.
we just glance over though. But no, we had a lot of fun doing the radio impersonation of Eli Gold. Touchdown Alabama.
Yeah.
We used to do that all the time. And so I think that's why Sam's so good at it. But it's weird. Sam used to not really have. Well, it was either one of two things. Sam either used to not have that bad of a country accent, and now he kind of he's very country. Well, it's not really country; it's a different type of country. Like Matthew McConaughey.
It's just
vibes.
Southern.
Yeah,
I wouldn't say it's country.
Yeah.
It's Southern.
Because there's people I went to high school with that were so Southern and so country that I couldn't even hear understand them sometimes. Sam's not like that, but anyways, I think either that or as we've taken further and further steps away from our hometown, Sam's accent just stayed, and mine has now gone away.
Yeah, I think part of it is our job, because we talk on the phone with so many people, and sometimes I hear myself leaning back into the Southern.
Yeah.
And it's because I'm talking to this 60-something-year-old secretary lady, and I think subconsciously, I'm just trying to put her at ease. I'm just trying to make her feel cared for and yes, ma'am.
You sound like Brady Blackburn right now.
Yeah. I think that's what it is for him. Like he's in the hometown, and he's talking to these pastors of churches in the middle of nowhere, Alabama, all the time. So I think it just happens. Because I grew up in Mississippi, so very Southern, but I kind of rejected the whole Southern accent thing. And no one really in my family, I think, has a Southern accent.
Yeah.
But every now and then it kind of bleeds out.
Honestly, that's kind of crazy. Because, even I feel like Jackson's in general, or Brandon, where you're from, is a pretty Southern place, and even your parents don't really have accents, and Chloe doesn't, and she still lives there.
Yeah, and
Ansley for sure doesn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I think you can consciously control that.
Yeah, I think so too. It was definitely a muscle. Whenever I first got to college, I had to train that because I had to consciously think about. There was one word that I always. I think it was for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. It was for whatever reason that phrase came out super country.
Sometimes when I say thank you, the you just draws out, and that's the one thing that I say that I think sounds pretty Southern.
That's funny. Hey, well, before we move on, actually, let's keep doing this. Let's go on to the next one.
So, episode 3, Joshua Jones. We asked the question: Taco Mama, yummy or no? And the people have decided yummy. 75%.
Really? How many people did we get vote? 4?
4. Wow. 3 people said yummy. 1 said no.
Well, America spoke.
Yeah, the people spoke.
If you wish they would have said no, then you should have said no.
So we got. I think one of the. Did you want to say?
No, I was just gonna talk about the Taco Mama a little bit.
Yeah.
I just feel like I feel like we give Taco Mama a bad rap. Everybody likes Taco Mama.
It's good. It's fine.
Similarly to the job thing. Nobody hates Taco Mama.
Yeah.
But nobody loves going to Taco Mama. You know what I mean?
It's how much does anyone really love Chipotle? How much does anyone really love any fast casual restaurant?
Yeah.
It's kind of this is close and I'm in the mood for Mexican and it's $9.
I will say that 99% of restaurants, I will get excited between the time of my ordering and the food coming to my table.
Yeah.
I'm just so excited to eat whenever I figure out something. I don't like Soho Social. Oh, sorry. Yeah, I think I said I don't hate Soho Social either. I went for lunch today.
Yeah.
And I ordered. They have these grilled chicken tenders.
Yeah.
That are blackened. They blacken salmon or something with seasoning.
Yeah.
And they drizzle ranch on them.
Ooh.
And they are scrumptious.
Yeah.
And after I ordered those today, I was like, please, can they come? Please get here as soon as they possibly can.
Yeah.
But I would never be like, oh, I love Soho Social. But today I was like, in the time of my ordering to it coming to my plate, or coming to
love eating.
I was like, oh my God, I can't wait to freaking scarf down Soho Social. I love this place.
Food is yummy.
Yeah. Food is yummy. All
right. Episode 4, Griffin Levi. We asked, what do you think about flip-flops? John McClendon, Jake McClendon's older brother, potentially coming to an episode near you. He said, only good if they're nice leather flops.
Hey.
So presuming
rainbows
like what you're wearing. Guy Abel said, I don't.
Guy does seem like the type of guy that doesn't like flip-flops, but he straight up wears clogs every day of his life. So, Guy, I don't want to freaking hear it.
Yeah. I've been pretty anti-clog as well, Guy, so sorry. But I am personally anti-flip-flop. Caleb Person said, sexy as HE double hockey stick.
Wow. Thank you, Caleb.
Austin Eck said, I am very pro flip-flops.
He is. He's a big rainbow guy.
With the
cool guy
with glasses. And then Stephen Peacock said classy AF.
Yep. Exactly.
And that's you. The other thing I did on there, I said, who do you prefer to host your podcasts? Same episode, Griffin Levi. 60% guys, 40% girls.
Interesting. So I guess we had to get at least 5. No, we needed to get at least, it was 5?
5 votes.
That was quick math.
Yeah, that is our most interacted with episode. Episode 5, Andrew Sink. What did you think about this episode? Again, didn't mean to do that, but Austin X said, minute 23 and 27 seconds hit me with a ring jump scare. I realized
that was when my brother called.
No, I think it was you got a package that episode, and yeah. I realized there was some channel that your phone was connected to that I didn't mute, and so I didn't even know until then. Ding. But yeah, there was like a ring that went off in the middle of the episode.
That's funny.
I got who y'all got in a fight. Same episode, Andrew Sink. 33% me, 66% Sink.
3 people.
True. Yep.
2-1. I bet Claire was the one. Or it was probably you, wasn't it?
I don't think I actually voted on that one.
You could have made it 50-50.
I know. I should go back. Let's see. Episode 6, Blake Watley. Would you ever go to Dubai? That one was a blast. Would you ever go to Dubai? One answer is, oh yeah, baby. Other answer is, Steven is right and I hate UAE.
Wow.
And
do we know who it is?
Oh yeah, baby won. The only one person voted. It was like an either or.
Those were
that was the way I posed them.
Wow.
It was either or.
I see. Interesting.
Yeah.
Wait, so what did they vote? Yes or no?
One person said yes, they would go to Dubai.
Interesting.
So, only one person voted. So
I watched Full Swing on the plane.
Yeah.
And the Saudi Arabian PIF fund guy was meeting with the PGA Tour, and the 2-second context, Saudi Arabia made a golf league that rivals the PGA, and they essentially just bought out a bunch of players, and now the players don't even care about golf anymore, and it is stupid. And I'm into golf, so I get personally frustrated with it. But anyways, Full Swing just paints live in this terrible light, and it made me hate United Arab Emirates even more.
Yeah.
Thanks oil.
Yep. Thanks gasoline. Episode 7, Sam and Cole Edens. I said it's a poll. If the noodle sticks to the wall, it's done, or it's not done. 50-50.
Wow.
One person voted for one person voted for the other.
That's crazy, actually.
Take that as you will.
I feel like I've always known that to be that's the sign that it is done. So I'm so curious, why.
Yeah. Hey, whoever it was that voted it's not done, come DM us and come on the episode and defend yourself.
Please. Thank you.
Episode 8, Whit Harrelson. Said, I asked, how long is too long for an episode of the podcast? Because that was our longest episode ever, followed by our next longest episode ever with Tucker.
Yeah.
Someone with the username BABSeed said no limit.
That's the girl. That's Ella. That's the girl that's in Gracie's small group.
Ella said no limit.
Hey, thanks, Ella.
Thanks, Ella. I agree. And there's plenty of podcasts out there that set example for that.
Yeah.
But doesn't hurt to ask.
You're also more than welcome to stop listening at any point.
Yep.
But I will say, it's difficult to stop listening.
It is. I have a thing where I have to finish stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's me or if that's everyone. But I can't stop shows in the middle. I can't stop movies in the middle. I've gotten better at it over the years. Now I kind of will give up if I really get bored, but it takes a lot of
If I stop a movie halfway through, the odds of me finishing it are about 5%.
Wow.
I don't think that that's why I'm you got to finish it in the first sit down or else it's not happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I gotta finish it. I gotta know what happens.
I would love to know, because that was one thing that was feedback I got, was like, they are so long, bro. We ain't got no time for this long of a podcast.
Yeah, I think part of it is
That's
like
fair.
they're college students. A lot of people are college students.
That was Kristen Forney, a certified Yo Pro in DC.
Whoa, that's crazy.
Shout out, Kristen. I know you're a listener.
Yeah, I don't know. Then I mean, I listen to a lot of podcasts, so
Yeah.
I don't have room to talk.
Yeah.
Episode 8, Whit Harrelson still. I asked the poll, do you ask your neighbor for favors? Yes or no? 100% of people said no. 2 people.
Yeah. That's actually super interesting. I would love to get more feedback on that, because I don't think a lot of people do these days.
Yeah. I think people are, I mean, I feel kind of, I feel like I'm a burden on people if I ask them for things.
Yeah.
Kind of wrestling with that there's a few people at church that I know of who do things that I think are really awesome, like run certain businesses and stuff like that. And I'd really love to get coffee with them or lunch with them to like learn about what they do.
Yeah.
But it feels a little bit like I don't really have anything to offer them except for like my friendship, I guess, or like a listening ear, a curious mind, whatever. You know, that to me, that I don't know if that's enough. You know.
Yeah.
But I was talking to my friend Heath Paget the other day.
Legend.
Fantastic human being.
Student government president.
He was at Stanford, and he is at UAB Dental School, if you're not surprised.
Doesn't surprise me at all.
He is
Still
really
the bow tie?
when I saw him, he was dressed down a little bit. He had a polo and
Chill
slacks
out,
on. Yeah.
We need to get Heath to be a listener.
I think I've told him about this. We should have him on. That would be.
He's a fascinating guy.
He's so cool. Anyway, so I sat down and talked with him for a long time last weekend. And the one like kind of serious question I had for him, I was like, Heath, you're really good at making friends with these people who are much older. Like he's personal friends with Andy Westmoreland, who is the former president of Stanford. Granted, you know, he was SGA president, so he was able to like, you know, meet him because of that and work with him directly because of that. But he still took it further and now is friends with him and like will still regularly meet with him. And so I was like, Heath, how do you get to this point where you're like personal friends with like business leaders, political leaders who are, I mean, these people are 50 years older than you sometimes.
Yeah.
And he said it's kind of a lost art in our generation that people seek out mentors. And so a lot of these people really want to give back to younger generations because they're at the end of their careers. And so they'd love to invest their knowledge into younger people. And so you just ask. That was pretty much it. And he had a really positive viewpoint on it. And he obviously has done that and has made friends with a ton of older people, and he even joked that like he doesn't have as many young friends as he has old friends. And I was like, well, don't worry, just come hang out with me because I'm only friends with 25-year-olds and under.
He's kind of like an old soul himself.
He really is. He has like he gardens and he's like
crap like that.
He's into woodworking. He's built his own canoe out of wood, which is crazy. He showed me a table he was building recently.
Wow, shout out Heath.
Yeah. Anyway, so that was encouraging, but it's still kind of a fear of mine I'm trying to overcome. And I think maybe a practical way is just ask your neighbor for some butter or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
Episode 9, Tucker Vines. I asked, do you respect Taylor Swift? Taylor Swift. Yes or nope? Guesses?
100% yes.
100% nope.
Wow. How many people?
3 people.
3 people do not respect Taylor Swift.
No.
You want to know something crazy?
Tell me.
Disney Plus just got the rights, and on like March 14th on, the Eras Tour will be like free to stream on Disney Plus. How much do you think Disney paid to have that?
100 million?
$74 million.
That's crazy.
Just to have that on
for one
one
movie.
for one concert movie
thing.
It's also like forever long. It's like 2 hours long.
Yeah.
And it was crazy. I was watching the Oscars last night, which I've never done in my life. That was pretty fun. I'm not going to lie. I felt like I was watching the Teen Nick Awards.
Yeah.
Or like the whatever those are called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nickelodeon Awards.
It was like Real World. And anyways, I was with Maddie Hickson and a group of friends celebrating Adair's birthday. Shout out Adair. And it was crazy to me to see Maddie, who is a certified Swiftie, like wore sparkles to the show.
Yeah.
And watching her get like on the edge of her seat and giddy about Disney Plus having, like she like wanted to watch and stuff. And I was like, I'm just so intrigued by it. I'm just so intrigued by it.
It's
that I was
also
like, to watch it.
Disney spending that amount of money from a business perspective.
Yeah.
Means that they anticipate and are betting that enough people will sign up for Disney Plus just for that one show.
Yeah.
To make back more than $74 million. I don't know how much Disney Plus is, like $7 a month.
Something like
$10 a month. So they're anticipating like
750,000 people.
Yes.
No.
7 million. 7 million people.
7 million. Honestly, they probably would get 7 million people. But I don't know. I feel like everybody's got a Disney Plus login.
Yeah. I just write off whatever my parents' streaming platforms, whatever they have is what I have.
Same.
If my parents didn't use any streaming platforms, I don't know if I would either. Claire would probably make us get like Netflix or something, but I would be like, YouTube is fine enough for me. I'm good with that.
I'm not gonna lie. One of the cringiest things about me is I genuinely listen to like the Birmingham sports radio all the time. So when you get into my car, it like before, it doesn't like remember that I clicked Bluetooth before. So it starts on the radio and then I have to click Bluetooth every single time. And throughout the years, I've had to develop this art form of figuring out the best station, the least annoying station to hear every time I get in the car.
Yeah.
Because the radio is like certifiably the worst thing in the world.
Yeah.
I think I genuinely hate the radio.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, what station am I going to hate the least? This is going to cause the least amount of anger for me to hear whenever I start my car. And I don't really like my car, so that's like a whole other thing. Like whenever I start my car, I'm like, ugh, like this is so annoying. But anyway, I start the car. For a while, it was like, there was like this piano station, and I was like, I don't know if I like that. And then for a while, I was like, just tired of the whole thing. I did like the Latino, like mariachi band station because that was funny.
Yeah.
And I wanted to get off it as fast as I could. Then after a while, I turned it on 95.7 Jams, which was my favorite radio station in high school because it was like the rap station. And then there's like this one indie, like 107.3 the Birmingham Mountain Radio. Like they're like an indie band. But then I was like listening to it one day, and this guy, Reg, who's like the host, the new Rex Orange County album came out. And I just like feel like Rex Orange County is just a pretty likable guy, really likable music. And he was like, yeah, guys, so here's Rex Orange County for all of my 14-year-old girl listeners. And I was like,
really?
Actually, like, you think this is what 14-year-old girls listen to? Are you serious? Rex Orange County? So anyways, every time I see him around Birmingham, and every single time his radio station comes on, I think about that, and I'm just like, this
You
guy,
see him around Birmingham?
Yeah, like everywhere.
That's crazy.
Yeah. But he loves like Creed and like what's that guy's name? Like St. Paul and the Broken Bones. And like all this stuff's good. But it's like you're just so obviously a 45-year-old.
Yeah.
And I'm like not. So anyways, I feel like I struggle with that. Anyways, we're going down a deep Birmingham radio rabbit trail. So anyways, I landed on 94.5 because it's just like sports radio and the hosts are like kind of funny.
Yeah.
And every once in a while in the morning, because they do radio like for hours every single day.
Yeah.
And there's like the same three guys, and then Greg McElroy, he used to be a quarterback at Alabama. And they're all like used to play football, like either professionally or in college, and they talk about football a lot. Or they talk, like right now they're talking about basketball and golf and stuff because the whole like the Full Swing came out. So anyways, I was listening to it the other day, And after a while, they just run out of stuff to talk about sports, so they just talk about normal life.
Yeah.
But like none of them like live like all that like none of them are like that interesting of like human beings. But they were talking about streaming services, and I think it's so fascinating hearing them. Like Greg McElroy, who like everybody knows makes tons of money, was like, I just can't get. This crap just ticks me off. Like he was like so mad that like you have to pay.
You have to pay for all of it,
all the different streaming platforms, and I was like, honestly, fair. And then he was like, yeah, my wife like is the only reason that I have like Netflix. And I was like,
I mean, I like watching movies a lot.
Yeah.
I like shows, but I've kind of gotten off. Like, I'm always kind of watching a show because Claire and I like to watch something, and it's easy to only watch a 45-minute episode instead of a movie every single day.
Yeah.
I like movies because you can get really into a story and then it's over, whereas a show, it kind of drags out. And when I get really into a show, then I just binge it, and then I end up watching way more TV than I ever would have if I just watched a movie.
Yeah, which I'm about to do with Full Swing after this episode.
Yeah.
Watch a little epi tonight.
But anyway, I get that sentiment, but I do like movies enough that I would probably have one platform where I would watch movies.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so too. I just don't really understand like how Netflix got away with it for so long. Like they were the only one for way too long. And then now, because it's like everybody's like, oh, I'll just pay like $8 a month 12 times.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, what were they waiting on there?
Yeah, and then at what point is it the same price as when we just had TV before? With cable.
Yeah, just cable. Yeah, that's so interesting. Yeah, I think there's like rumors that there's just going to be a streaming service for all of college football because of NIL and crap.
Yeah.
And all the conference realignment. And I'm curious, like, since, like, if they do it, the NBA, the NFL, if they do that, if you just have to pay the NFL $12 a month and you get to watch the NFL, like, cable legitimately will die in our lifetime.
I'm surprised it's still alive.
Yeah.
It's one of those things that just, sorry guys.
Yeah, same with landline telephone. It's like after a while, it's like people are just going to buy wireless, like mobile cell phones, and then they'll move on with their life.
I think I wonder what it looks like with news.
Dude, I will be loud about this. If the news did not exist, we would be a lot better. Everything would be a lot better.
I like, as much as Elon Musk is what he is.
Yeah.
His idea for Twitter is like open source news, and basically to create a structure similar to Reddit where like everyone can basically vote and make sure that something's true or false.
Yeah.
And I kind of like that idea because then like the stuff that's important would theoretically rise to the top.
Yeah.
The stuff that's lies would just get downvoted out of existence.
Yeah. When you think about it, like people our age, whenever we're like 60, we don't freaking care about like turning on like Fox or CNN or C-SPAN, and we also don't care about like ABC. Like we don't like. I mean, there's people my age that I guess that are into Dancing with the Stars, but like we wouldn't not watch Dancing with the Stars if it was just on like Peacock or something like that.
Everything got so edited.
Yeah.
With previous like legacy media is what people are now calling it.
Yeah.
And our generation really values just realness and like authenticity. Mm-hmm. And so I think that's the direction things are going. And that's why
think about it. Like it's Dude Perfect's fault.
Yeah.
They're the ones who started everything and did it all. You know what I mean?
It's Dude Perfect's fault.
Dude Perfect, Backyard, their Texas A&M College House. They were like, we single-handedly are going to change the entire world of media consumption. And now they all make billions of dollars.
Yeah.
Which is still like, they're literally building a Dude Perfect theme park in Dallas. That's maybe the craziest thing that's ever happened in our generation.
I think they monetized brilliantly.
Oh my gosh.
Because they monetized by creating toys.
I was like, what the heck do they do at a Dude Perfect tour?
Yeah, they just
in the comments,
shoot basketballs.
If you went to the Dude Perfect tour, what did they do? Literally on stage, did they like say jokes? Did they just like turn on the freaking like I don't know, like turn down for what and just like danced?
Yeah.
Did they do trick shots? Because it'd be wildly awkward if it didn't go, if they missed.
I was thinking they would have, like, obviously when they do the trick shots, like the world's tallest basketball shot or whatever, like it takes them all day
maybe
of
days.
shooting this video, like 48 hours of shooting basketballs until one goes in or whatever.
Literally, yeah.
So I'm sure it's the same way. I don't know.
It's got to be crazy. Like on the SD card afterwards, like the editors
They have
just
to
like
go
scrolls
through
through like 600
dozens of hours.
shot.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's funny. All right,
Okay.
hey, we're 45 minutes in. What if we jumped over to the questions that our people gave?
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay.
Well, let me just, there's two more things.
Okay, go ahead.
How high have you counted? Kyle, episode 10. Ella said pi symbol.
Oh wow, that's pretty cool. Ella, who?
From Gracie's small group. I forgot her last name.
The Beebs, or what's her name on there?
Babseed.
Babs, that's right.
And then what are the best pens? So I gave 4 options: 0.38, 0.7, needle point, and something else. 3 votes. One person said 0.38, one person said 0.7, and one person said something else.
Interesting.
So inconclusive.
How about that?
So yes, we did put out questions to the ethosphere of Instagram. Let's start with my sister Chloe. She said, when do animals go past the ability to be considered a house pet?
Okay, so to give a structure before we dive into this whole thing, we have roughly like 10 questions, maybe 15 questions. I can't really remember.
Yeah.
But to give as many people the spotlight as possible, let's put like 2-minute answer limits on this. So when do pets get above what we read?
When do animals go past the ability to be considered a house pet?
Well, I mean, I think like the obvious one of not being able to domesticate it. So like a bear, doesn't matter what you do, like they'll kill you one day. A gorilla will kill you one day, no matter what. A snake.
Yeah. Something that can be, that will submit to you as the dominant figure.
Yeah. That's tough.
I think it also depends on size.
Yeah.
I think, like a horse would be way too big. You could have horses, but not as a house pet.
Yeah. I think it would be really fun to have a monkey, like a tiny little monkey. Just
I think that would be really fun. Something I've learned from having a cat. It's so annoying when they get into stuff.
That's
and
fair.
A monkey would get
eat.
into everything because they have thumbs.
A monkey would kill
like
themselves.
My cat, swats at the leaves and, digs up a plant. A monkey would like open your cabinets and then start throwing your dishes on the ground.
Yeah, that could be pretty tough. Could you imagine that? Just got coming home to your little buddy. He's just jumping around.
Yeah, it would be really funny
like
though.
A tiny little miniature human.
Yeah.
I think that objectively, like when you can't domesticate them, and then I also think, like just in general, like if you don't have, like if you're not doing like a cat or a dog, you're probably like shouldn't be doing that. You know what I mean? Like I think it's like cute to have fish, or like, but if you were to be like percentage of Americans that have pets, it's like dogs, freaking 70% or something like that. Cats, 50 or I don't know how many percent. Like a lot of percent of people have cats. You think half of American homes have cats?
I doubt it. I bet it's more like 30% or less.
30% of people have cats. After that, I bet the next highest one is like fish at like 3%.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a big jump.
Here's my final answer. If an averagely fit human being cannot wrestle the animal to the ground and subdue it, it should not be a house pet. I think that's my final answer.
Okay. An averagely fit. I'm okay with that.
I think I'm pretty averagely fit. Maybe a little bit more because I do work out.
If it could overpower you, it would be kind of weird.
Yeah.
To have it
at that point, it's like whose pet is who.
You walking the dog, is a dog walking you.
Yeah. Okay. My wife Claire, she asked, "How many scoops of poop do you put on your bagel?"
Can I get a side of poop?
My answer is 3.
Side of poop. All right, so this brings us to a really important question. And that is like when you go to a bagel shop, what kind of bagel do you get? And how much variety is it? Does anyone have variety in their bagel order? Or is it like they have variety of what they put on their bagel, but their bagel's always the same? Because I feel like it's usually everybody has a go-to bagel. And then everything else is different. But I feel like the majority of the flavor that you get in a bagel has to do with your bagel flavor.
So,
an inherent irony that happens within the American food-eating construct.
Yeah. For me personally, I tend to lean into the bagel sandwich thing. So I'll get an everything bagel with
sausage,
eggs and cheese and sausage. If I'm doing just bagel and cream cheese, I tend to lean sweet. So I'd get like a blueberry bagel.
Yeah.
Or a cinnamon bagel. Or something
one thing that I love about Crestline
Bagel,
which today's episode is sponsored by Crestline Bagel.
I wish.
Is that they have several different types of cream cheese. So I love their jalapeno cream cheese. I also tried their, I think it was like rosemary and chives or something like that. Cream cheese last time. It was scrumptious. You should definitely try it if you haven't. It was like Parmesan or something. I don't remember.
That place
garlic
is
herb.
gas.
That's what it was. Garlic herb. But so definitely rosemary and garlic. But it was so yummy. I'm definitely an everything bagel always, forevermore and always. And then when I'm feeling crazy, honey butter chocolate chip.
That's
bagel.
crazy.
I love that. I've
never had that.
The library at the college that we went to, that was like my late night snack.
They had schmear there.
Schmear.
Schmear was pretty good. I would get the blueberry bagel with like it was some kind of like
half a pound of
crazy schmear. It was like a cookies and cream or something. It was just a dessert. It was a dessert.
Makes me want to go get one right now. You have Einstein's after this?
Sure. At 8 p.m.
We show up. People are just like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, we really wanted
schmear bagels.
Oh, man. Nice.
Claire asked, what is your favorite thing about your wife?
Favorite thing about Gracie? I mean, this is kind of tough because, like, probably the first 600 answers are pretty selfish. So I'm going to make this only about her, not about me. Obviously, the way that she loves me, and how she's kind to me, and the way that she cares for me.
Yeah, that's a good interpretation to think about more objectively.
Yeah, but Gracie in of herself, like, what is my favorite part about her, who she is? Oh, man. Definitely her taste. I think that Gracie has such a fascinating outlook on like literally everything. Clothes, buildings, freaking restaurants, food, desserts, people, clothes, cabinets, walls. Like the other day, she does this thing where this is my favorite thing that she does. She prepares questions for our dates.
Oh, cute.
And then she doesn't tell me until we get there.
That's fun.
Our question on Monday, we were walking through the botanical gardens.
Yep.
Sorry, this was Sunday, not Monday. She says, if you had the perfect house, like, you got your perfect house, what does the exterior landscaping look like? I was like, that's such a good question.
That's a great question.
Yeah. My answer was rosemary bushes and then a weeping willow. And I'm a big, I like pine straw if it's like low. I don't like
you
big
don't like
fat
the fluffy
pine straw.
Yeah.
But I do like pine straw or mulch.
Yep.
So what's underneath there? That was my answer. What is your answer to that?
I was going to say, this is going to sound like too broad, but Claire's spirit. And by that I mean, she's very homey. So everything about her, she wants to be cozy.
Yeah.
And I think that is it does relate to me because I do think it's a really great balance to my modern, maybe occasionally brutalist taste. Not quite brutalist, but I wouldn't have as many blankets on the couches and things like that. But I like that she does that because it does make our home feel more cozy. And it's just kind of like the way she carries herself and the things that she wants. She wants per another conversation at the wedding this weekend, she wants like a sleepy surf town.
Yeah.
And I really want like the desert surf vibe.
Yeah.
Like that's where I want to operate in music and in design and clothes and whatever. And she just wants that, but like quiet.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
that's-
Claire's one of those people that when you're with her, you have to match it too.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, that's one of the beautiful parts about spending time with quieter people is that any loud person can become quiet.
Yeah.
But quiet people, it is very difficult for them. And I would say a lot of times impossible for them to become like a loud person.
Loud. Yeah. And I am a much louder person. And so I think it's a great, she's a great counterpart to me.
Yeah. It's funny, like being at the wedding, sitting beside our wives who like genuinely just like would choose not to speak in a whole 3-hour long conversation. But I think they don't hate being there.
No.
But
Claire
Myres
had a great time this weekend.
Myres and I just are really freaking loud. Like really loud.
Big personalities.
Anyways, what's next?
Claire again asked, what's the dream?
The dream? Oh, man. Serving cappuccinos, good music in the background, laughing with my wife as I work with her. And then possibly having some sort of outdoor aspect to that too. Yeah, that would be the dream environment for me.
Yeah.
Good music, friends, some sort of craft and going on as well. What's the dream for you?
Pretty much my life now, but I drive a sports car.
Okay.
Lots of time with my friends, as much time as possible. Ideally work with them.
Yeah.
Just being around people as much as possible. Honestly, like being in a cafe is a great example of that. Just being able to interact with people regularly and spontaneously and make people laugh and do something that makes them feel happy and do it with my family and get in a sports car and drive home.
Yeah. I remember one of the first times I ever went to Sidetrack. I was there. I think that this was before you and I were friends because I was in college. Because the girl, I don't remember her name. Dang it. I was friends with her whenever we were in college, but she like lives in Birmingham and goes to grad school here now. I see her in June all the time. But anyways, she worked at Sidetrack.
Hannah Ray?
No. With another girl that I also don't remember her name, Austin, who were in college. Anyways, they were both working. I didn't know who either of them were. And this song came on that I liked at the time. I don't remember the name of the song, but they, as baristas, had a synchronized dance they did every time that they worked together, and that song came on like the cafe playlist, and they legitimately like stopped what they were doing, like line to the door or whatever, and that she like the other girl was there like working on the bar, and she like stopped what she was doing, and they did like the synchronized dance, and everyone around was just like laughing.
That's awesome.
And they thought it was just like so fun that they had to do it.
Yeah, that's very valor.
And I was just like, that right there, that is a good time.
That's fun.
So that definitely influences my dream vision there. So shout out those two girls. I don't remember what your names are.
One more question from Claire. How do you find motivation? And I answer that, I don't think I find motivation. I think motivation finds me.
Wow. I think I find my motivation from a deep, deep, deep place of I don't know. That's like a super deep question. I'm not going to take it deep. Nick Saban motivational speech YouTube videos. I'm going to keep it shallow.
That's why
those sometimes.
That's why I answered it the way I did, because I was like, we've gone so deep on so many things. Yeah. Okay. Lizzie asked us, what y'all eating lately?
I'll tell you.
She asked it like that.
I'll tell you what I ate way more than I would have ever in my entire life wanted to this past week. I was in Cuba, Viñales, Cuba, and I ate rice and beans every single meal. And I ate that, and like, it's not like I like rice and beans. And honestly, they made their beans and their rice like perfectly. Like, I feel like I hate when people make rice badly and it's like crunchy and or like too watery or something.
Yeah, or too like they stick all together and it becomes mush.
Yeah. But their rice was amazing and their beans were amazing. I just ate it so like every meal.
Yeah, it gets old really
for
fast.
6 days in a row. And I was like, oh my gosh, can I please just have like a freaking Guthrie's fried chicken fries right now. But I've been eating rice and beans a lot lately. What about you?
What have I been eating lately? My breakfast rotation has gone from I'll do a bagel breakfast sandwich, and then I'll do a English muffin breakfast sandwich, and I could just go back and forth. And I'm trying to switch it up this week, so I'm doing sourdough breakfast sandwiches.
Wow.
But I do
You're
scrambled
crazy, man.
eggs. I do a slice of pepper jack cheese, and I switch up between bacon and Kaneka sausage and breakfast sausage.
Nice.
So that's what I eat for breakfast every single day.
I got what's that called? When you get something at Costco, it's like something sized. It's like a commercial size.
Yeah, super size, commercial size.
Commercial size
Big ol'
Kaneka
big.
sausage. For our lead team retreat back in January.
Yeah.
And I'm still eating it.
That's crazy,
It's
actually.
we didn't use it. We bought two and we ended only up using one.
Yeah.
So I took the second one home and I froze it and I literally just crack off a quarter of it.
That's
a
crazy.
quarter of a link.
Yeah.
For breakfast.
Dude, I think
every week.
Kaneka sausage is probably my second favorite food.
Wow. Behind what?
I
Steak?
don't know because
You just don't want to give
I just don't want to give it the first,
one
but
spot.
man, it's so good. It is so good. That was all our questions from our
I have
Instagram.
I have a
our
few.
WOM Instagram, that is.
I posted one on my personal Instagram as well, and these are my thoughts. These are my questions. Rebecca Stockwell says we should talk about how we should put her and Scout on.
Okay. Come on.
So I don't really know what we're supposed to talk about right now. So Rebecca, I'll be real with you.
Well, so maybe we pose
you
it.
should. Maybe if you would have posed a really good question, that would have made your
incentivized.
likelihood of coming on super high. But because I feel like there's an element of laziness to how she avoided creativity and how she could have said that.
Yeah, she could have even posed it as a question. She could have said you should have me and Scout on.
Ooh,
maybe that's what she was trying to do. She just left off a question mark.
She could have said, I don't know, talk about the intricacies of what it means to be an indie artist in the present age, where no one actually does work independently. And I've been like, whoa, we should have her on.
Yeah,
and talk about that.
Ask us a good question on our Instagram or anything, and we'll probably want to have you on.
Yeah, but instead she just says how we should just talk about how we should put her and Scout on. I mean, she did live overseas for a while. She did World Race or YWAM or one of those things. Cool. So that'd be kind of cool.
If you
Scout's fascinating too.
Scout, send us a 1-page application for why you should be on WOM and send it to our email, wordofmouthemail@gmail.com.
Yes, wordofmouth@wordofmouth.org. All right. I'm actually pretty excited about this. Jared Gibson.
Jay
Gibby. Friend of the pod, friend of me. I will be a proud groomsman in a few months. I can't remember what day he's getting married. I think it's June.
I'll be a proud attender of that wedding.
I also will be a proud DJ at that wedding.
That's crazy. I didn't know that.
I'm pretty excited about. That's another one of my side hustles. Is I'm kind of into DJing. But anyways, Jay Gibby says urban life versus suburban life. And I think this is interesting because there's so many different ways we can take this, and I'm so interested to see how you formulate your 2-minute response.
Urban life versus suburban life. I grew up in the suburbs, and what I don't like about the suburbs is car dependency.
Yeah.
I do like, at least when I was growing up, I grew up as one of those kids who ran around the neighborhood all the time and was friends with all my neighbors. That's awesome. But I, as an adult, would love to live somewhere where I can walk to a coffee shop or a restaurant or I love to be able to walk to a grocery store. Mm-hmm. That's kind of where I would like to operate. And that tends to be a bit more urban. I think some areas in Mountain Brook are a little bit of an exception. Homewood is kind of the suburbs, but also that.
Yeah.
So I tend to lean. I just think suburbs. I don't love that it's kind of sprawl and you're kind of like. That's a civil engineering term, I guess.
Yeah.
But it basically just means that like when a place gets crowded, you just go further out away into more of the land and then just build more houses and neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I like neighborhoods that are integrated with the many other things you would want to do with your spare time, such as going to restaurants, going to cafes, going to libraries, going to bookstores, those kind of things. So I tend to lean more towards urban just because I like the idea of being able to easily access third spaces, other spaces other than your house and your work. Yeah. I like the idea of being able to access those without having to drive to them.
Yeah. I think this is going to be really difficult for me not to get a little bit of emotionally biased because I just don't understand. Like growing up in this city, I think it's fascinating. Sometimes realtors will post Instagram reels of lofts or homes in downtown Birmingham, and they'll be priced at, pretty fair price points for like the state of real estate in downtown Birmingham. Definitely expensive, but every home is expensive in 2024, so I don't really understand why it's such a big deal.
Yeah.
But anyways, they'll post like a loft, 3-bedroom, 2-bath for like $450,000 or $540,000, which is like cheaper than the expensive suburbs in Birmingham, but definitely more expensive than like other suburbs in Birmingham. And the comment sections are just like, pay $540,000 so you can walk outside and get shot. And I'm like, people legitimately think that murderers just like chill out waiting for people to walk outside.
Yeah.
In downtown Birmingham. And I'm like, why do you think like what? I just don't understand.
That house, that loft wouldn't cost $540,000 if that was the case.
Yeah, and then you like click on their profile and they live in freaking Pell City or Clanton.
Yeah.
And I'm like, you literally don't even live in Birmingham. Like, why do you follow Beham now? Or like, why do you follow this? Why are you commenting on this or whatever? But anyways, that's my little small rant. But I think like urban life versus suburban life. Like I have friends right now who are thinking about moving to like the suburbs, like what I would consider the suburbs, like out of Zone 1 in Birmingham or out of Zone 1 in Atlanta. And I just I can't really conceptualize why they would want to do that because I just like don't understand why you wouldn't want to be near the best a city has to offer. Like why you would want to like be out on your own. But you still, but I don't know. I was talking to Jack Brittle about this a while ago, who's this guy we went to college with, and he bought a house like in the, outskirts of Birmingham, like probably the furthest out of anybody that I know. And I was like, I just don't understand like why you'd want to be so far away from the city, but still you want to live in a city.
Yeah.
Like just move out to the middle of nowhere. And he was like, well, I need a job and cities have jobs, but I don't want a city. And I was like, okay, that makes kind of logical sense.
To me, I'm like, either I want to be in the city,
yeah,
or have some land away from people.
Yeah. I'm an extremes guy.
I'm also an extremes guy. So I'm like, either I'm going to live, like, I'm going to go get acres and you can't see my house from the road.
Yeah.
Or, like, I want to have neighbors and be able to walk everywhere.
Yeah. I think it's the most fascinating thing to think about in the world. It's just like,
to me, suburbs is like the you get the worst of both.
Yeah, you know? Especially when you think about like you live in the suburbs, and I guess this is definitely working off the assumption that you would go out to eat and you would go to the library and you would go to like you would do things like people that live out there and they're like homesteaders and they do their own thing. This doesn't apply to them, but I would say that like over like 80% of people aren't that way. Maybe over 90% of people definitely interact with their local economy. So I'm like, okay, well, you move to the suburbs, and there might be like 2 sandwich shops that are like actually local. And then you move out to the suburbs, and then you're going to eat like Olive Garden and Chick-fil-A, which are like not bad, but it's like...
The more densely populated areas have more people to sustain
Yeah.
local businesses oftentimes.
And like 99% of suburbs are just so like interstate exit vibes, which I think is like, we've talked about this before, is like the ugliest architecture in human history.
Yeah.
Like you get off and there's just like signs and power lines and parking lots, and you're just like, oh my gosh, can this just like make sense for 10 seconds? Like anywhere you look.
I find that when I operate in suburb land, it makes me feel like population. It's a term I use. I want to feel special, like I'm unique.
Yeah.
And when I just go to the suburbs and everything is like a chain, and everyone drives normal cars and all the houses look the same, it just feels like I'm just a small speck in the universe.
Yeah.
As opposed to in an area that's things are more local and I can walk places and run into people I know. That makes me feel more special and like I have a place and I belong.
Yeah. Like I think it's amazing the fact that from my door in Crestwood, there's like, I could go east, south, northwest and go to a restaurant that's better than any restaurant in a suburb.
Yeah.
And it's owned by someone who like probably lives in the same neighborhood as me.
Yeah.
I'm making this sounds like so pretentious right now.
It's kind of what like the suburbs and small towns used to be like that, but once these big companies, like once Walmart became the place where you can get every single thing, then there's no point in having your local grocery guy who doesn't have as much stuff. Walmart's cheaper. So it's just like kind of, it's a negative.
Is a strange thing to think that if you live in the suburbs, you feel like you're living the most like organic life or something, but you're actually living like you're the most dependent on corporate.
Yeah.
Whereas like living in downtown, you're the most dependent on local. Like literally,
at least in Birmingham's context,
the freaking shop down the street, or they shut down the other day just because like quote, they just really weren't feeling it anymore. Like they just didn't really want to do it anymore. It wasn't like well, our public fund like what had a negative quarter or something like that. It was like I just don't really know if this is what we want to do anymore, and we want to go. And it's like a human being. So, anyways, I feel like urban life in every city. Well, I say in every city. Obviously, like in huge cities, this might be different. But I feel like even in New York, which is the most extreme circumstance, still it was like super local. Yeah. Vibes in the downtown area, and I feel like you're definitely gonna. It just breeds more room for like human connection. Yeah. Whereas like if you start spacing out and sprawl like you're talking about, it's like really hard. Some suburbs do it really well. You can't
bump into someone and meet them in your car.
Yeah.
That just doesn't really happen. That's not how it's designed.
Yeah. And I think in Atlanta, they have a lot of suburbs that do suburbs well. Yeah. That kind of turn suburbs into like miniature urban areas or something.
Which is kind of what like Homewood and Mountain Brook are a little bit.
Yeah, and from what I've heard, like Trustville is turning into, like they have like a little downtown area. Yeah. They're like building neighborhoods around. Yeah. Essentially.
And that's where I say sprawl is more of what I have beef with. I don't necessarily have beef with suburbia, but what the suburbs that we've grown up in are. Like I grew up in a neighborhood where it was 1 mile, like I measured it, 1 mile from my driveway to the exit of the neighborhood. Yeah. And there were no businesses in the neighborhood. It was all just houses. Yeah. So you had to get in a car to go do anything. Yeah. And I don't want to, as much as I love cars and I love driving, I'm a car guy. I don't want to have to get in the car to go do something. Yeah. I'd love to be able to walk somewhere.
It was crazy. They opened up a Dollar General at the entrance to my neighborhood, which was a quarter of a mile from my driveway. And me and my family, you would be amazed the amount of times that we went. Yeah. So we do need
walked.
It. Well, we had a golf cart, so we would take the golf cart. But like we do need that stuff. It's just whether or not like it actually is like happening or whatever. But
we spent way more than 2 minutes.
Way more than 2 minutes. Anyways, good day. Honestly, Jared.
Great job, Jared.
Have him on.
You got us
we should have Jared on.
We should. He got us on a tangent.
All right, we got to actually keep this one short. Kate Mayfield. Shout out, Kate. Says personal triumphs. For me, I'll make this short. This one just came to mind. I used to really struggle with sleep. because I lived in this one house that was like, I house at one time, and the owner was like really kind to tell me that he had personally witnessed, like he was like warning me when I moved in, that he had personally witnessed 3 people attempt to break into the home.
Well,
because he's like, hey, just like so you know, like lock your door. Like I've seen like 3 people like try to break in.
Yeah,
and I was like, oh, okay, cool. So I got really scared when I was there, and I developed this big dependency on like YouTube to go to bed. And then like about a year ago in counseling, they talked to me about how like when you develop essentially like visual pacifiers, you can't fall asleep with a visual pacifier because you have to keep your eye open. So it causes this like weird neurological hiccup. So every single time you close your eyes, your brain wants you to open them back up. So anyways, there's a very small little snippet into my counseling life. But anyways, over the course of the past like 6 or 7 months, I have seen triumph. I sleep again now. Like I do not need YouTube whenever I go to bed. I do not need any sort of phone. So I have not gotten to the point where I sleep with my phone out of the room. I would love to do that one day whenever I get a hipster little alarm clock. But right as of right now, I feel like I've seen personal triumph in that. That's a big deal to me. What about you, Myres? Running 85 miles a week, maybe?
I was gonna say fitness. I've always done some kind of athletic thing in a sport or something. I rock climbed a ton in college, but I've never been a consistent. I've never been super consistent for the sake of being fit. And this year, really not just since January, but kind of since like October, I've been running a ton.
Yeah.
Right now, I think I'm on track. I'm a little bit behind my goal, but I'm on track to run 500 miles this year.
Wow.
And I go to the gym at least 2, if not 3 times a week since January. And
quick math. How many miles have you run this year so far? Like 100?
Not quite. Probably like 75 or 80, I think.
75 or 80. And it's March 12th. Or sorry, is it March 12th or February?
It is March 11th. Tomorrow's March 12th.
That's right. My watch didn't account for leap year, so I'm a day ahead on my watch. I gotta fix that.
So that's like I haven't necessarily like. There's not a specific goal I've triumphed, but it's similar to you. Sure. Like I've just improved this part of my life consistently.
Yeah. Myres and I are not necessarily like goal people as much as we are trajectory people.
Yeah.
So we're trying to set trajectories or aims.
Yeah, I've set a ton of goals for myself for this year, and so that's the first time I've ever done that. But it's more of a trajectory thing. It's like the number. I do want to run 500 miles, so that is a number. But like a lot of my goals are mostly just to kind of like by the end of the year, I'd like to be the kind of person who does this.
Yeah.
And that's how a lot of my goals are structured.
Yeah.
To give myself a lot of grace and time to develop new habits.
All right, we got 2 left. 1, Cuban government. That's what Alex Applefield, absolute legend, long snapper at the Stanford University.
Praise God.
Says that he wants us to talk about the Cuban government. And after being a week in Cuba, or after being in Cuba for a week, I have lots of things to say. I don't know if any of y'all listeners have watched the movie Don't Worry, Darling, the one with Harry Styles and Florence Pugh. But this town that we were in definitely gave off like those kind of vibes. But it was fascinating because it was like Cuba, communist, but it was also like a tourist town, so there was like currency in exchange. It wasn't like they didn't have currency to exchange. Like there were shops and stuff. I've been to other parts of Cuba before where there's like black market, like little corner like carts.
Yeah.
Sometimes like when the government is like they have to hide them though.
Yeah.
So there was currency there too, but this town was like had open storefronts where you could go get shop. Like you could shop. They were really weird and small and stuff. So it was just strange. But the government, like if you make too much money, then the government just takes your money.
That's crazy.
But you can buy a house and you can buy a car. And apparently to buy a like beat up 1985 truck, it costs the equivalent of $120,000. $100,000 US.
Do they still have? Do they have newer cars? Because I thought they used to have it cut off at like the 60s or something. They didn't have anything
1959
newer.
was whenever the Cuban Missile Crisis and the trade block happened, and then 2020 is whenever something was lifted and they were able to get new things, and that's whenever we were able to begin traveling there too.
Yeah,
and so there are. It was actually hilarious. This town did not have many new cars. I probably saw 10 cars that were older than 1960 the whole time I was there.
Yeah.
One of them was a Ram 3500 dually.
Holy cow.
And it was literally parked outside of a house that was like decrepit, impoverished, like Latin America.
That's crazy.
Homes. Like, it was hilarious seeing it drive around.
That's
it was
really funny, actually. Yeah.
Like everywhere
Big
it goes.
Diesel, loud, grumble.
And literally, it was so funny. But anyways, getting to be there, and Cuba's just the most fascinating place in the world. If y'all ever have the chance to go, you should go. But Cuban government, it's just so interesting that they thought it was a good idea actually, backstory. I learned this whenever I was there. From the year 1900 to 1920 or 1930, it was the most visited country by Americans in the world.
Wow. I never knew that.
More Americans visited Cuba than any other. So this was pre their connection with Soviet Union. Then Soviet Union, who, if y'all know anything about World War II, was like on Germany's side. They were in their what's it called, alliance or whatever.
Yeah.
They weren't necessarily like against America, but they weren't like they weren't allies with America either.
Yeah.
Sorry, again, I'm missing another detail. Cuba's government really didn't like how much money tourism was coming into the country, because the upper class and the lower class got this huge separation. So they were like, hey, so the lower class and a lot of like the upper class too, because they missed the Cuban connection. Like there's this like culture there of like, if you're Cuban, then it means like your family.
Yeah.
And there was like a lot of division amongst them. So then they used that, and a lot of people would argue that the Soviet Union used that to make the ground like fertile for like Russia to start like pumping communism into their idea, to be like, hey, let's like spread the money all around.
Yeah.
And then so from 1930 to 1960, it was like this beautiful poster child of communism in the world. And then 1959 comes, and then they try to, like, America catches wind that they are going to build a nuclear bomb site in Cuba where they could blow up like Miami and New York before America could blow up like Moscow or like some other,
Yeah.
And because of that, America did a ship blockade, like a trade blockade. So they literally like put a bunch of like naval ships out in the country and made sure that nothing could come into the country.
Yeah.
And then Cuba experienced the first Great Famine, and like a bunch of people in the country died.
Holy cow.
Because they couldn't get any food.
Yeah.
And they were used to like a normal functioning, like high functioning society.
Yeah.
And ever since then, until 2020, they never got anything into the country. Like they never had any trade.
Crazy.
And now they're having it, and it's like the country. Yeah, they're not doing too hot.
Yeah.
But anyways, ever since then, and then also like a lot of people limited trade to Russia too, and then especially right now because of everything going on with the Ukraine-Russian war. They're in like a second Great Famine right now, that Cuba is, because they can't get any trade even from Russia. They can't get any food. So it is a wild thing, man. But if their like connection with like Fidel Castro being buddies with like whoever the guy for Russia was, and
Stalin probably.
Yeah, Stalin legitimately like ruined that, like the life of people. And it's like why they thought it was a good idea to make a missile, and to put a nuclear missile, like, or I don't know what that's called, like a missile factory or something, or ground gun, whatever. in their country is beyond me.
Yeah.
Like, it ruined the history of their country.
Yeah.
But it's just so obvious. So I think it's so fascinating. This is probably the weirdest thing is the people are so kind and laughy and happy when you talk to them because they like love like their family.
Yeah.
But then when you take a picture with them,
Stone cold
face.
Wow, that's crazy.
And it creeps me out every time I think about it because I'm like, are they doing this on purpose? Is this like a little like cry for help?
Yeah. If it's like a cultural thing where it's like they don't want you to think that they're actually happy there because
like overall they're not.
Yeah, like they're suffering.
No, I think it might be them saying like, hey, we're not allowed to say that we're like discontent with our country because they get in trouble. So they're like, oh, Americans are taking pictures of us. Like, I don't know. That's definitely conspiracy vibes, but
no, but like really.
But it's like so strange to me. Like the whole time I'm with them, they're laughing, smiling, like they're super like tranquilo is their word, like tranquil vibes. And then as soon as you take a picture with them, they like everyone
stone cold.
No face. Oh, it's weird. Weirds me out every time. I've always wanted to ask them, like, why don't you smile when we take a picture? But I feel like it's a weird thing to ask.
Hey, man.
You don't know. Like, why aren't you smiling that you're taking a picture? Why aren't you happy that you're taking a picture?
Yeah.
Anyways, all right, so last question here. Best question of the day.
You didn't let me see.
Well, I thought you wouldn't have any thoughts because you've never been, but I would love to hear your thoughts on the Cuban government.
I have two thoughts.
Okay.
He who does not know history is doomed to repeat it.
Okay.
So learn your history, folks. And two, you can still look around the world, and even if you think history is dumb and there's nothing to be learned from the past, which is not the best perspective to have, you can still look around to today and learn from
history
that is happening before your very eyes and see communism is not the answer.
Man. And I would say that we're pretty open to like socialist ideas.
Highly open.
But we're not, I don't know. But not to make this a politics podcast. But
yeah, those are my only two thoughts.
Big capitalist guys.
I'm a big fan of capitalism.
But
if you want to talk to me about it, talk to me about it. I will talk all day. I studied economics, so I think about that all the time.
Like big, like paternity leave, maternity leave, like freaking free diapers, like free diabetes medicine. Like, I mean, there's like definitely like lots of things where I'm like, oh, we probably should.
That'd probably be ideal.
Learn from Norway or Sweden or whoever the heck those guys are
Denmark.
that are over there. But
one last question.
One last one. It's the best one. Jeffrey Heine asks, why is Taco Bell both bad and good? How does this paradox relate to the duality of man? He's really giving us a fat meatball right now, like knock out of the park.
I think in the right time and in the right season, there's a place for everything.
I too.
I think he'll appreciate that reply without me going too crazy deep.
So this is why I think Taco Bell's so bad and good. See, I think that when you see a Taco Bell and you think about it, you're like, that looks good, but like, nah, you pass by it a lot. You pass by the Taco Bell idea a lot.
Yep.
But then sometimes you think about it and you're like, man, that's pretty
time.
Baja Blast.
That's how you know.
And then you pull up and you're like, man, like this is so good. This is so good. And then you have the situation afterwards that's so bad, right? And I think that a lot of times in our life, we see a lot of things, and we remember the results. We remember the consequences, similarly to Taco Bell's consequences. And we look at them, we're like, no, like we can't. We gotta keep it moving. And every once in a while, we look at it and we say, Looks pretty good. Looks pretty good right now. We should do it. Whatever the metaphorical Baja Blast.
I think here's my example.
What makes me consume a steak quesadilla at Taco Bell 95% of the time isn't the steak quesadilla. It is two things. It is the sauce, the manna from heaven, the sauce that's on the steak quesadilla, and the Baja Blast. That's what gets me in the drive-thru line at Taco Bell.
Yeah.
But what the consequences are coming from, I'm assuming, the meat. You know what I mean?
Probably, yeah.
And that is metaphorical, because I think what Jeff's getting at here, I actually know what Jeff's getting at here is sin.
Uh-huh.
We're like, why is sin both good and bad?
Yeah.
Like, how does this paradox relate to the duality of man? Like, why is man both good and bad?
Yeah.
Blah, blah, blah. But
I have an example in the real world of how this could play out, because I was also thinking sin kind of played into it, but a lot of times when you indulge in some kind of sin, it's only bad. And I have an example of something that's good and bad.
Okay.
So
I'm scared.
Every now and then, you're hanging out with your friends, and you stay out late. And you know it's probably going to ruin your next day because you're going to be tired and cranky the next day, and it'll probably lead you to do some, perform poorly at work or school or something the next day. But it's worth the fun times that you have late at night with your friends, because you're having the right talks, you're doing the right stuff.
Yeah.
You're fellowshipping. You're getting the good.
Yeah.
And tomorrow's probably going to be screwed up because you're staying up till 2 or 3 in the morning or whatever it is. But it's worth it. It's worth it for the people.
I think that most always it's worth it for the people.
It's worth it for the people.
And that brings us all the way back to the very, very first thing we were talking about. And that is, you can't separate work and people, man. What makes you the most money in the world will not be talked about at your funeral. But what makes you the least amount of money in the world, that's what's going to be talked about at your funeral. Hey guys, thanks so much for coming to the Myres and Steven pod. Hour and 31 minutes of pure milked joint joy.
Whatever that means.
You saw the belly of that cow and you milked it all out of there.
You let your monkey get into your cabinets and throw your dishes on the ground.
You are that monkey.
He's cute.
You were that monkey, and you saw the joy that would come to your heart if you spent time throwing those plates. And you spent the time, and you threw those plates on the ground. You saw them crash and burn. And you know what? Your owner's going to come in later today, and he's going to be, or she is going to be ticked off for a second. And then, you know what that owner's going to do? He's going to look you in the eye. And that owner is going to say, oh, you're so cute. I can buy new plates. But you, only you.
Yep. Amen.
Cheers, mate. Welcome to the secret segment of the podcast, where we talk about secret things.
This is the secret segment.
We're going to do a little music for this. So, interesting thing here. I have one statistic of people in America that moved interregionally. So people that lived in a certain region of the country and moved to a different region of the country last year. 83% of those people moved to the South. That is something I would have never in a million years thought that would have happened growing up in the South.
Yeah.
I thought everyone my whole life has made fun of the South because racism and the civil rights movement and the Civil War. And now 83% of people that are moving across the country are moving to the South. That's a fascinating thing.
I think it's the culture of hospitality.
Yeah.
Open arms. I think.
And it's slower here.
It's slower. I think it's open arms. And, there's a checkered past. But that was a couple generations ago, and I'm not going to say everything's perfect and great now. I'm not saying that.
Yeah.
But what I am saying is I think people here are nice. They wave at you.
Yep.
And I really do think that more people than not welcome others with open arms. And I think that's the culture of the South.
I agree. And you know what I think? I think that people who are from my entire life, I've like low-key always believed, I've always like kind of felt bad for the people who didn't grow up here.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like, I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on TV. But genuinely, like my entire life, I'm like, I think, okay, like freaking West Coast, like you have much money, or like Northwest, like okay, like cool, you freaking, I don't actually
you surfed growing up or something. I don't know.
Yeah, and then like here, it's like, I mean, our entire family, like our entire life is our family, and we're like having a good time. Yep. I don't know. But I definitely think the South does a lot of things wrong. But I think that
I think
everyone does.
I think what lacks in the South is like beauty and design and architecture and fashion.
Yeah.
And I don't really know why that is.
Yeah. At least here in Birmingham.
Yeah, and in Mississippi
too.
And
at school, but
I don't know. I mean, obviously there are individuals who have, beautiful taste in design and architecture and fashion and all that stuff. But as a general rule, the culture doesn't really value that very much.
Yeah.
But that's not the most important thing. I think again, people are most important.
Yeah.
And the South, people really value community a lot.
Yeah. I thought it was super interesting. Reagan works at my church with me. She's the kids minister person. And Reagan said that Reagan went to Redeemer in New York where Tim Keller was the pastor. And she said that the reason, like Tim Keller credits the reason that Redeemer was so successful in New York is because like the first charge that he gave to his people was to stop moving out.
Wow.
His first charge was to have babies and stay.
Wow.
And so aka like stop, move out.
Yeah.
Because the transient nature of humanity like kills
community.
It kills life.
Yeah.
In general. Like
how can you develop close relationships and deep meaningful relationships if you leave every 2 years?
Like if you move to New York and you're living there as like a young, single, and a family who lives there and like lives there invites you over for their home, like to their home, and they're like, yeah, we've been here for like 10 years. We don't really ever plan on leaving. Like we love it here.
Yeah.
You're like, oh my gosh, this is the most steady thing in the entire city.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So
I think
it can be done anywhere. It's not because of like a region of the country. People just have to stay still.
I think
it's the only thing you need.
I think there should be a period in your life, probably between like 17, 18 and like 24 maybe.
Yeah.
Where you are a little bit transient.
Yeah.
And you should go to college or you should travel or you should do something.
Yeah.
And then get enough of a taste of places, pick a spot, and then be there.
Yeah.
And that's where you should be.
One thing we're going to have to talk about one day was that thing that Andrew said about like the vacation. He was like,
yeah, that was wild.
He said, if you vacate from your community, you are leaving a hole in your community. That's you. And you are filling it and you're shoving yourself into a community you don't belong in. And I was just like, man,
there's so much to unpack from that. And I'm still processing it in my own head.
I was like, yeah. Anyways. All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks.
It's 9:04 on Monday, March 11th right now. And this will be the second to last episode. Next week, we're going to have a fun little surprise. Am I allowed to talk about what's going to happen next week?
It's the secret segment, so.
Oh, it's the secret segment, yeah. So here's the secret segments where the secrets are all out of the bag. Next week, we're going to have the wives on. Claire and Gracie.
Gracie and Claire.
So, yeah.
We are breaking the fourth wall of having females on the podcast.
Wow.
And it will not be the last time.
Fourth wall.
I promise. Ladies, 40% of ladies listening right now. I promise there will be more.
Lean in, girls. All right, guys.
Bye.